everyone, and welcome to the latest in BI/Kelsey's presentation series on the biggest trends we're seeing in local. I'm Mike Boland. I'm an analyst at BI/Kelsey, and today we're going to go over the mobile local discovery and what we believe is the next era of search. And this really builds from a white paper we just published about that topic. You know, what are the biggest trends in terms of usage that is migrating from the desktop to mobile devices, and how is that transforming search as we know it, and how are companies like Google and other search engines really positioning themselves for that transition. And a lot of this comes down to the fact that as we see that transition from desktop to mobile, a lot of that usage is skewing towards apps. If you look at the share of growth in digital time over the last 2 years, the engagement points are clearly skewing towards apps and away from the mobile web, which is clearly going to be problematic for search engines like Google because they have positioned themselves at the front door of those browser-based experiences. So the question really becomes, how will search engines like Google position themselves to live in this more mobile and more app-based world? And this is going to happen in what I like to call 3 different battlegrounds. So the first battleground is the mobile web. One of the challenges is that the mobile web has actually lost a lot of share in the ways we just went over in the previous data set because the web-based experiences are very much functionally inferior to apps. I won't go into all the technical reasons why, but the short version is that the mobile web doesn't have as much ability to tap into native hardware functions of a given device in the same way that apps do. Things such as the processor or the GPS chip or other things like that. Also, the app environment has become kind of a Wild West or under-regulated environment when compared to the relatively curated app environments where there are a lot of quality controls in place, for example, within iOS and app stores. So all of that has resulted in just a functionally inferior mobile web experience that a lot of people find frustrating. So it's led to a lot of those usage declines we just went over. Now, again, this is problematic for companies like Google that have as the foundation of their revenue models search traffic. So Google is really trying to clean up the mobile web as a play towards making it a more attractive place where traffic will come and therefore go through its front door. And this is behind its Mobilegeddon effort, which many people are probably familiar with, which was very popular in the news about 4 months ago, where it is threatening to derank sites that are not mobile optimized. And what do we mean by derank? That essentially means no horizontal scrolling, no pinching and zooming necessary, and a whole list of different functionality that it has provided. It also provides a site where you can simply type in your URL and it'll tell you if your site passes the test. This is an example of the BI/Kelsey website that passed the test. But interestingly, almost half of the Fortune 500 is not mobile friendly according to Google standards, which is pretty surprising, but it's also important because it's telling that if the Fortune 500, half of it is not mobile optimized, that has a lot of implications for small businesses that they are far behind that even. So this is going to really take a long time for the small business universe to really get its act together with a more optimized mobile web presence. Now, while that's kind of transpiring, another thing that Google is trying to do is with the Battleground 2, which is deep linking in the appverse. So within the app universe, it wants to be the front door to index several apps and be able to send you from search results to deep within other apps, and that's the deep linking topic that's been very hot in the tech world over the last few months. So one way it's doing that is by indexing the apps on your phone to be able to send you deep within those apps whenever there is a search query that you do or a search results that relates to an app that you may have. Another way that this is playing out is, beyond Google, there are a number of different companies working on deep linking. One is Verb, and this is very much in a local context. It's trying to solve the common pain point of planning a night out, where you may bounce between many different apps, such as Fandango and YouTube and Safari and Yelp and Foursquare and many others. It proposes instead to be a front door to those several disparate experiences by curating them and bringing their data and their content into its own app. Another way this is happening is in more of a customized or one-off experience where companies like Button will work with apps to make them more functional and deep link to other apps. One example is what it's done with Foursquare in embedding Uber functionality right within the app because that's a complementary function. So when you are planning a night or if you are deciding where to go next, you can book an Uber ride right within the app without having to bounce over to the separate Uber app. And then lastly, in terms of deep linking, one dark horse in all of this is a phenomenon that I haven't heard written about at all or talked about at all recently. I wrote a column about this where Apple's new 3D Touch function could actually be the solution to the deep linking challenge that everyone's talking about. And it could do so by preempting deep linking with a much lighter weight solution. So what this does is, depending on the force or the pressure pressed down on a given link or a given app icon, it will preview what is on the other side of that link. So it doesn't require users to bounce over to other apps or the need for even deep linking, where it, again, a much lighter weight solution is to just preview what's on the other side of that link from the place where you're already sitting. I like to call it deep previewing, and it's certainly something to watch. So the third battleground, along the same lines of Google positioning itself as that front door to aggregated app experiences, that's what it's doing with Google Now. It likes to think of Google Now as a hub app. Now that compares with the examples of deep linking I just gave that are more of a spoke-to-spoke system. So it's one app deep linking within another. Now with Google's hub scenario, it wants to be the single front door to an experience that curates and deep links to all of the different apps that you have on your phone directly from Google Now. It believes it's in a good position to do that because it can provide a personalized experience and push you things of relevance based on your history and also your unique array of apps on your phone. So for example, it can tell me that I have a flight tomorrow, that it's going to rain, and that there's road construction, so that I should leave 20 minutes to the airport and take this alternate route. And it knows all that stuff essentially from peering within all of these different apps on my phone and these different content sources. Now importantly, it's now doing this just with Google Apps, so it's somewhat limited. So that's Gmail for flight alerts, it's maps for road construction, and weather, and some of the things I just mentioned in the previous example. However, this will become a lot more robust when it brings a wider array of third-party apps into this Google Now environment, which is precisely what it's trying to do with Google Now on tap. So it's working with third-party apps that to do that same thing in terms of an overall aggregation point, but with many more apps, things such as Yelp or OpenTable, to be able to deep link to those things directly from within Google Now. Now, panning back and kind of winding down here, this all comes back to a key concept that Google is trying to push, which is micro moments. It's reported that in any given user's day, there are hundreds of these micro moments, which are essentially engagement points for mobile content. And the reason this is important is that these represent the opportunities to push users things that are predictive and personalized to the profile that Google has developed for them. And that's very important for Google because if indeed it's true that they have lost some degree of active search queries from less people being in the mobile browser and more people being in apps, this is an opportunity for it to make up for that in some way by instead being a push engine instead of something relying on users to show up and type queries into a search box, as has always been the case. So this is, I believe, where things are moving, becoming more data intensive, becoming more predictive and personalized and push-based in terms of Google's value and the value that other search engines can bring to the table. That, of course, requires lots of moving parts, such as them being able to index all of the third-party apps that I have on my phone. But these are some of the things that they're working on, and some of the directions this is all going. So I hope this has been valuable. This is just a short glimpse into all of the different trends we're watching, and we will continue doing so and provide subsequent analysis of what we see happening in this key search trend as things move mobile. So I'm Mike Boland, and thank you for watching.